going to start creating a new file just to make a extremely simple layout. I'm going to go to print inches. I'm just going to set this up by 11 by 17. I'll set it up portrait. All right, so the simple layout that I want is essentially just want four quadrants, something along this line. Let me just scale this, but I actually want this to be the actual correct distances, right? So I want 1 inch all around the border, and then 1 inch between in the center. So I want to make sure that I lay out a grid. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on my rulers. And turn on my grid, show grid, and snap to grid. And I'm just going to drag a few guidelines out. So there's 1 inch over, 1 inch down. I'm going to add one to this side. Again, 1 inch over. And add one to the bottom. And I'm going to add one in the middle. I want to make sure that it's placed in the correct location. So I believe I need to go over 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches. Yep, so that's centered. And I'm going to put one in the center. I believe it's there. Just count this over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 inches. And I believe that's in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 inches. Yeah. I'm just double checking that it's actually at the half-inch marker. And it's set at the half-inch. Perfect. So now that we've set out some basic guidelines, I'm going to turn off, I'm going to hide the grid. You can leave this on or not. I'm going to turn this off to snap to the grid. So essentially what I can do now is I can make 2 more guidelines. Right? I can just drag down 2 more and just make sure that it's half an inch up and half an inch down from the center one. But I'm going to do something slightly different. I just selected that guideline and hit delete on my keyboard to get rid of it. I'm actually going to make a rectangle that's 1 inch by 1 inch. So I click on the rectangle too. I'm going to do a single click on the screen, and that pops this. So I can make a rectangle in a very specific size. So I do 1 inch by 1 inch. I hit OK. I'm going to do the fill. Just give it some random color. And now this is 1 inch by 1 inch. And I can make sure that as I'm moving this, I can snap to my guidelines as long as I have a check mark where it says Smart Guides. As long as I have that turned on, I can actually snap to very specific areas. So if I drag this over, I know I'm snapping to this edge and to this edge. But actually what I want to do is I want to snap the middle part to this edge. So I'm going to, again, just drag this over until it snaps right in the middle. And I can tell it snapped in the middle because of that point, that indicator. And I'm going to move it straight down. I'm going to drag this straight down. And just to make sure that it stays orthogonal, I'm going to hold down the Shift key. And I'm going to make sure that it snaps right there where it says intersect. So now I know that that's right in the correct location. So I'm going to just use that as my marker to make the rectangles that I need. So I'll make sure I go from that intersection to that corner point or anchor point. From that anchor point over there. And at this point, I could either copy these or just make 2 brand new ones. So go from that anchor point to that intersection, and that anchor point to this intersection. And I no longer need that center square. I can turn off my guidelines. And now I have this set up. That's a pretty harsh looking green, so I'm going to pick a slightly different color. Do a softer gray. And I'm actually going to change the top gray to something different, a much lighter gray. So now I have a very basic layout with a very simple monochromatic color scheme. And if I wanted to, I can take one extra step. If you like this one, I'm just going to save this. I'm going to go to File, Save At, or just regular save. I'll just put it on my desktop. Just give it a specific name. Layout 1. I want to make sure I save it as an Adobe Illustrator file. Save it. Get this pop-up screen. Save it to Illustrator version 2020 and hit OK. And now I have this saved, and I can edit it and do whatever I like, or just turn it in.